Okay, the first thing that I want to go over before we get actually into the PowerPoint is the contract signing. We've run into a little bit of problems. Somebody is not muted, and it's very loud. Okay, okay, so contract signing. We do have PowerPoint instructions for that, which we do have ready to send out. We haven't sent it out yet because we're having our vendor update some language that's in the contract to match the prior gains because they should be consistent from round to round. So that is expected to be done hopefully by the end of this week, tomorrow. So hopefully one day next week, I will be sending out the PowerPoint along with the go-ahead to sign everything. Now, keep in mind, if you've already signed it and submitted it, that there is going to be some of the, and when I say language corrections, it's all formatting issues. It's nothing actual in the language. So we won't be sending it back to you, but once I do send that email, you can go in and just read it over to make sure that everything's still the same for you. I can return it to you if you would like, but it's kind of no sense because you're just going to resubmit it. So hold off on submitting them if you haven't already until you get the email from me. So that's all regarding the contracts. So everybody, welcome to the Gaines Fiscal Year 24 Grantee meeting. This year for round 2, we approved 12 different entities totaling 380 apprentices. So it looks like it's going to be a decent sized grant. And with the introductions here, obviously I'm Albert Nixon. I'm going to be your grant administrator for the next 18 months, at least. And any questions, it's best to email the general apprenticeship email, which we will be sending you with all the information at the end, because that goes to everybody in our group, where if I'm out, somebody can respond. That way you're not waiting for me to come back 2 weeks after vacation to get an answer on something. Once you are working on doing your reports, you can send any questions or concerns to Heather or myself. And again, both of our emails are in this PowerPoint, so you will have them if you don't already. Okay, here is the list of the grantees, total 380 apprentices. It's a varied amount of different sectors that we have in this grant, which is good, from education to construction to healthcare. So that's definitely a wide range. The job source. We expect you to please try to work with your new apprentices on getting them registered into the New Jersey Department of Labor one-stop system, and that's done through creating an account on JobSource. So every apprentice that you do register into your program, please have them go to the Get Started link at the jobsource.nj.gov and click the Create a Free Account. That'll register them into the system so we can collect demographics on them in our regular one-stop system, because our system is independent of theirs. So when you do enter them into ours, it's not put into the statewide system. The responsibilities and the deliverables for this grant. The contract period is June 15th. We had to start it before July 1st because it's a new fiscal year and we had to spend the money technically in the fiscal year 24. So that being said, we started at June 15th and it's going to end on December 31st, 2025. The activity and expenditure reports are due by the 15th of every month. Your first report will be due on August 15th. That will cover the period from June 15th to July 31st. We're not going to be doing a report for half of June by itself. It'll be merged into one report for both. Okay. Within 6 months of the contract start date, your program should be approved by the USDOL, and your first classes of apprentices must be registered with the USDOL in Rapids. This means that by December of 2024, Your program should be registered, all of your apprentices registered with the USDOL, and your first class is starting. If there is any delays where you're not going to be able to meet that deadline, please reach out to me as soon as you realize that there's issues with that. That way we can work on an action plan to get everything moving for you. Or if you need help getting your first class started, we do have some links later on that I'm going to talk about that we may be able to assist you. By the end of the contract period, which is December 31st, 2025, all of your apprentices that you listed in your deliverables should be registered into your apprenticeship program and moving forward. The grant parameters. Who can participate in your grant? New Jersey employers and apprentices. Gains is funded using New Jersey tax money, and as such, the expectation is for the funding to benefit New Jersey economy. Therefore, your participating apprentices must be residents of New Jersey, and your partnering employers must be New Jersey-based or have a presence in New Jersey. When we say a presence in New Jersey, it's not a example that it's a construction company doing a job in New Jersey, but yet they're located in Pennsylvania. They have to have a physical address and an office in New Jersey to be considered a presence in New Jersey. If you do have any questions moving forward with that, please email me. And I want to just reiterate that probably through this whole PowerPoint. Anything in question, send an email asking about it. We're always here to help, okay? There are other requirements for apprentices to participate in the games. All apprentices must be registered with the USDOL and issued an apprentice ID number to begin participation in the games grant. That being said, if you have an apprentice and you're registering him backdated by a month, you can put him on your reports as soon as he's registered with the USDOL. So if, let's just say that you had somebody who started in the middle of June, after the grant started, we're doing the July report, you can add that person as soon as they become registered, and as of the registration date in Rapids, we can start issuing any benefits or training for them through the gains grant. All of the apprentices must be earning a minimum of $17 per hour. There are specific wage requirements and guidelines for each occupation that you've registered with the USDOL when your program was approved. Make sure that you stick to that. We're not saying you only pay them 17. It's whatever the USDOL has your occupation set at as far as the salary chart, but it cannot be less than 17 per hour. All apprentices must be hired with your participating employers on full-time basis. Full-time basis is determined as your industry. It may not necessarily be 40, it's as your industry standard is. If you do have any questions, again, reach out to me. The requirements for the OJT wage reimbursement for those of you who requested that in your application. The apprentices must be paid a minimum of $17 per hour. The reimbursements cannot exceed 40 hours a week for a 52-week period. So if you do not claim everything after the 52 weeks for that apprentice and reach your maximum allowable amount for each apprentice, that money cannot still be claimed. You may be able to add an additional apprentice if there's funds left over, but we can only pay up to 52 weeks, 40 hours per week. We do ask you to provide either payroll records, a wage report, or a New Jersey Department of Labor Excel wage reporting document that we have, which we'll be sending you also, when you are requesting reimbursement. The record should show clearly the apprentice's name, the period of work, the rate of pay, and the hours worked. These documents, or this document, should be uploaded to the expenditure report for the applicable month. So when you're uploading your August 15th report, completing it, if you have an OJT reimbursement for the end of June or the beginning of July, make sure that you attach the appropriate paperwork for us to verify the hours, the earnings, so we can make the payment. The Excel sheet that we do provide can be used for reporting to us. That is fine. There's a spot for you to check off that you are certifying that it is correct, and there's a spot for you to type the signature in and submit it. That wage report, though, is not sufficient for an audit. So keep in mind, if you do use that report, which we encourage you to, because it helps speed things up a lot, especially if you're going to be having like one grantee, 150 people. Reviewing 150 pay stubs every month would definitely be time consuming on our end and delay reports. So if you do use that, just make sure that for audit purposes, if you are not the employer yourself, that from the employer, you do keep a monthly wage report or pay stubs on hand. The audits usually happen after their grant period has ended. The OJT reimbursement is only for regular pay. That means that overtime, holiday pay, personal time off, sick time, they're not reimbursable. So when you submit the hours to us, it's only the regular rate of pay for regular hours worked. We've run into the path that some employers provide their employees driving time. Driving time is not regular pay, so that would be excluded. The details of the reimbursement request should be entered on the OJT screen within the activity report. When you click on the OJT tab on the left side, which we're going to go over in a little bit, you'll see where the OJT report is for you to populate. If you use the Excel spreadsheet that we provide, it mocks the page. So everything as it looks on the Excel sheet is what is on our page format wise. So basically whatever you would have on that page, you would just populate into the system. Make sure that the total reimbursement calculated at the bottom of the OJT page matches the amount that you bill on your expenditure report. You have a line item for OJT on the expenditure report, which we'll show you in a little bit. That must match the OJT report on the activity. So the activity and the expenditure report for the OJT will have to match. For prior grant recipients, apprentices funded through a prior gains grant or OJT contract are not eligible to participate as an apprentice with their new grant. If you have a customer or an apprentice that started with the previous program that was through gains, and for some reason they were canceled with the USDOL and they're coming back into your program, they cannot be used on this gains if they were paid OJT on a prior gains. And the OJT reimbursement should not exceed the allocated cost per head in your budget. This will vary from grantee to grantee. When you listed your OJT, we take that number, we divide that funding by the total participants in your deliverables, and that winds up being what your maximum amount per person is. If you are not aware of what that is or how to get it, if you send me an email, I'll look it up in the system and I will get back to you with what the number is to keep aware that once they hit that max amount that you cannot bill any higher. Okay, next we're going to get into the activity and expenditure report for completing the reports. The one thing that I just wanted to bring up real quick, since I did forget with the contracts must be signed by the authorized official, the AO. The reports can be completed by whoever has your administrative access. So just keep in mind that when we do say for the contracts to be submitted, each of the 6 blocks has to be reviewed and saved. 3 of them require a signature checkbox on the bottom. All 6 of them boxes are checked at the end and it's submitted. It must be done by the AO. Okay. As part of the administration of your grant, your organization will be required to complete monthly activity reports and expenditure reports. These reports are due on the 15th of every month and should reflect the activity and expenses for the prior month. Your first report will be August 15th for the period of June 15th to July 31st of 2024. And the following presentation is going to show you how to walk through the system if you are not a prior grantee. Okay, so we have the first box at the njdol.intelligrants.com. You would have login information from when you completed your grant and requested access. If you have or are a new person who will be working as the grantee doing the reports, we would need an email from the AO. After you click the new user on this page, which is not there because where it says your session has expired, it normally says if you are a new user, click here. And then you'll click there, and then I need the email from the AO basically saying that John Smith has registered in IGX and he needs access to complete reports or initiate reports. And then we will give you access and attach that grant. Because if you do not let us know, you will have access to the system by completing the sign-on, but you will not be attached to the grants. So you won't see anything for your grant there until we link it, and that's the email to the unit. So here's where you'll sign on with your username and your password. If you do forget your password or you get an error that it's incorrect, use the reset password option. Once you get into the system, set it as a password that you will be able to remember or write down to save. When you get into your application to start the reports, on the top of the page, you see a initiate related document. And under my task, you should see the grant there, the application. And at the beginning, it's going to have some different statuses that don't pertain to you while we're going through the steps of getting the upper management to do the final approvals. At the end, it's going to say grants encumbered. As soon as you do submit the application and the first level of approval is done, you will be able to start submitting your reports. You do not have to wait for the final approval here for it to be for grants allocated. You will be able to go in. Any questions, please ask. Once you've been assigned and approved, which is what I went through, follow the steps to access the grant application. If your contract has not been signed and approved, skip to the next slide in this to access the grant application. If it's already been approved and you see it here, just initiate documents. That'll take you to where you need. All expenditure and activity reports can also be started by simply clicking the initiate box on the top of the dashboard, which is what I covered in the beginning. Searching for the application when the contract is in process. So at the beginning, for August 15th, since we're delayed on getting the contract signed, you may have to initiate your first reports this way. So while you're on the grant application, while it's going through the process, you can access the application by clicking the search on the top blue banner on the top and then My Documents. If you, in the drop down, select the gains, round 2, and then click search. If you are linked to that grant as appropriately, it will pull up that grant for you to click on, and that will take you to your landing page for your grant and the grant application. Before starting your reports, make sure you review the employer sponsor page on your application. You may have had some employers that you had entered in the beginning when you did the application, but you may have more now that you will be working with your grantee or partners. And in order for the activity report to be completed for a participant for an OJT reimbursement, the partner has to be added so we can check their tax liability. If when we check the tax liability, it comes back as owing greater than $750, we will notify you to notify them that they need to contact the Department of Labor and that grantee or that partner cannot be used until that liability is settled. So when you're on the landing page for your application, if you click on the employer sponsor, that will open that up. It's the same as when you completed your application. On the left-hand side, you'll see the light blue scroll bar there. That will contain the shortcuts to all of the pages that you will be needing throughout the grant, whether it's the application, the expenditure report, the activity report, or the different pages within it. Everything is on the left-hand side here. After the sponsor employer page is updated, you can begin the reports. To access and start the report, use the navigation panel on the left side of the page, scroll the selection entitled Related Documents. Click the Initiate Related Document buttons. If the button is not available, you may need to click the little arrow next to Related documents to drop it down. It may just be hidden. Under available documents, use the drop-down menu to locate and select the activity report for the reporting month and click Create. Reminder that you should be completing the reports for the prior month. Example would be in March, you would be completing the reports for February activity and expenditure. Since this grant is 18-month period, make sure you select the proper year. Come July, August, September of 2025, you may still see the 25 available to you or 24 available to you, even if you've completed it. It's a glitch. It should not happen, but just beware if you do see months listed multiple times with different use that you're using the correct year. After you select that, you hit create. You're going to get a agree box, basically, just confirming that that's the report that you want to generate. If you hit decline because you realize it's the wrong report, it'll take you back. You can select the right report and move on. If you do initiate a correct report and you realize that it is the wrong one after you've initiated it, email us and we can have it deleted so you can start with the correct report. Once you open the report, in the light blue on the side, it's going to change to all the different pages of the activity report. And that's the navigation page that's on the left-hand side. Once it's initiated, it'll remain in the My Tasks of your homepage until you submit it. So you can work on part of it, save it, close it, log back in the next day, pick up on the same, click on your My Tasks, open up the activity report, and add to it what you need to. You can keep doing this until you're ready to submit. And as I said, that the navigation page is always the left side, the light blue, where you can scroll. And just make sure that you remember that every time you do complete a page, it's very important that you save it. If you click out of it, it will erase everything. The activity report. After you submit the agreement, you will be brought to the document landing page. The pages of the report that need to be completed will be listed on the left navigation panel, which I went over. You'll start by clicking the report type. You can skip around other sections if needed, but the form type selection is always going to be the same. So as soon as you initiate a report, it's just smart to always just go in and click interim. There's only going to be one final report that will be in December of 25 when you report it in January. Every report from then should be interim. If you do select the wrong one and save, reach out to us and we can have it corrected so you can start again. The next tab that you're going to complete down the light blue strip is the participant list. This is where you're going to list your participants, your apprentices. After they're registered with the USDOL, you're going to provide us their first name, their last name, their USDOL apprenticeship ID, and whether or not OJT or RTI is being covered on this grant for that participant. The USDOL verify box on the left-hand side, you do not need to do anything with that. That is for us after we verify it. You should be adding to this list by using the plus sign on the right-hand side of the first one. Every time you need to add another person, you can add it there. If you are going to be doing multiple employers to keep track of your apprentices, that's when you would use the add button on the top right hand in the dark blue, and you could name it for each employer. But if you're only using one employer or you do not have the need to sort your employers for participants, one list is all that's needed. Keep using the plus sign. Once you add a participant, there will become a negative sign there. Under no circumstances do we want you to use that delete button. It deletes it from the front that you see, but it still leaves it in the background and causes problems in the system. Email us as soon as that happens and we can get the apprentice deleted if you're not ready to start claiming for that person. Again, make sure after you complete all your apprentices in here, you save the page. When you save the page, it'll tell you that the page is saved. When you go back out to the main light blue navigation part, it'll show a check marks in that box. If there's an exclamation mark in that box, there's a problem on the page. If it's a checkbox, it's good to go. The next tab is the monthly reporting. Even if you do not have apprentices yet for your first report, because you have up to 6 months to get the program moving forward, you still need to complete this page. So you use this page to list the occupations that are part of your grant and their statuses as it relates to the USDOL approval. As apprentices begin the program, indicate the number of new apprentices under the current reporting period. Additionally, provide program updates by answering questions 2 through 4. Question 2 should be a minimum of 3 sentences every month as the bare minimum. We need to know what's going on with your program. If you answer, because question 2 basically asks what's going on. We do not want an answer as we're good. No, that's not providing us details. If you have no apprentices yet, put what you're doing for recruitment. Put what you're planning on doing for recruitment. Let us know that you're working with an RTI provider. You're like basically what is your status. Once you do have apprentices, you can actually give us what the apprentices progress is there. If everybody's doing good, if that's how it's going. If you do run into any barriers, please make sure that you do keep them here. We do review this. And if it's a barrier that you need help with from our side, we'll reach out to you when we see it and we can schedule a meeting to see how we can help you overcome it. If it's an attendance issue, put it in as a barrier and how you resolved it with the apprentice. This should be so we can just get a picture of how your grant is going. Are you having problems? And how can we help? The top, just keep in mind, under the current reporting period, we only want to know what you're adding on this month's report. So if you have one program under current reporting program or period, don't enter one every month, because as soon as we see more than you're supposed to have, we're going to be sending the reports back to you, Heather will, to correct. So just keep in mind that the right-hand box is cumulative, and the center box where it's asking on the top, where there's zeros right now, just the total for the month. Your occupations, they should mirror what is in your deliverables on your application. If you list that you have 3 occupations, you should list 3 occupations here. If there's an occupation that is not in the drop-down here, select other, select that it's approved, put the date that it was approved by the USDOL, and in the comments, add the information about that occupation, the name, the hours, total hours to complete the apprenticeship, and the zip code. And then what we'll do is we'll have it added to the drop-down for you. That way it's in the drop-down as it should be. Okay, the placements in registered apprenticeship pages. The placement into registered apprenticeship occupation pages will automatically be created based on the names you added to your participant list. So when you go in and you add your participant and their registered apprenticeship ID number from Rapids, that automatically creates this page. That's why I said do not delete anybody from that, because it still leaves this page here. So it causes problems in the system. To navigate to a specific page, just click on the arrow next to the placement to the registered apprenticeship and select the name of the participant whose pages you wish to review, to add or edit. We'll get into them a little bit further coming up on the slide. When you do enter everything correctly and the system accepts it, you're going to see little checkboxes next to each of the blocks or in the blocks next to the name. That means that the system accepted all the information and it's complete. If you see an exclamation mark like this, that means there's something on that page that you did not enter. You need to go back, you must go back into that customer or the apprentice, see what's highlighted in red and edit it, so that way it will say and save the page again and see if that goes away. You should also receive an error message on the page. Review each page and enter the applicable information for the month. Initially, you will need to set up this page by adding the apprentice contact information, the demographics, the USDOL registration information, sponsor employers, occupation, etc. It's a lot at the beginning for each apprentice, but it saves it. So you only need to enter all of this once, the top portion of the page. The bottom portion of the page is where we keep track of the status of the apprentice, their OJT RTI hours, any credentials or milestones that they may meet, and that should be updated as they happen. But every month, you should still be at the bare minimum going into this page and updating the OJT RTI hours and checking if they are satisfactory or not in your program. We review that against an Excel report to make sure from month to month that the numbers are going higher. If they are not going higher, we will send you back the report and ask you to please update that information for the apprentice. If there is no change in the hours because maybe the apprentice was out that month for some reason, just include that in the comments section on the monthly activity so we're aware of it. Okay, if the apprentice is canceled from your program, this page needs to be updated to reflect that change. So you would go into Rapids, you would cancel it with the USDOL, and then you would come here on your next report. You would list that it's canceled and the status and the date that they were canceled. When you're done updating this page, make sure you hit save, and then you can navigate to the next apprentice and do the same thing. So if you enter 10 apprentices on your first participant list, when you go to this page for the apprentices, it's going to have the 10 names listed. You need to individually go into each one and enter all their personal information and demographics first time. And then for each new person after that. The OJT apprentice wage reimbursement. If you have it in your application for a wage reimbursement, any OJT reimbursement sought for the month should be entered here. That being said, if you do have a backdated customer, you can enter everything for the backdate as long as they're registered with the USDOL after the grant start period of June 15th and you have paid them. So your first report is a good example. This page is going to cover a 6-week period instead of a 4-month period. So you will make sure that you do that accordingly. You'll be selecting the apprentice and entering the information on the row associated with the reimbursement. It's a drop down. All of the apprentices' names will appear there for you to select from. For an example, if they have 20 hours of OJT at $17 an hour, it's $340. Therefore, the reimbursement should be no more than half of that, $170, and the match would be the difference of $170. Remember that we only reimburse the regular hours at a rate of no lower than $17 per hour, and you must supply us either the payroll report, the pay stubs, or the data sheet that we provide. If you need to add more apprentices to this page, as when you're adding the apprentices to the system, on the right-hand side, you see the little plus name next to the name of the employer. That will add another line for you. You just keep adding as long as you have people. There is no limit. So you would only use this one line item per person. That will stay static on the report for the next month's report, where you just have to update the hours, the earnings, and the match. So the customer will always have the same line item in the Excel sheet. If you keep the line items in the same order as you create them here, it'll make your monthly reporting much easier when it comes to the OJT. The apprentices' names pull from a drop-down list. If you're missing a name from the drop-down menu, revisit the participant list and add that person because it means they're not there. And data entered from previous months will populate as it's listed there, and it'll show the cumulative cost and hours. Only list each apprentice once on this page. You're going to just keep adding to them and make sure that you save the page when you're done. I think it's probably a good practice to save it after you enter each participant, just because with the system, you don't want a timeout possibly. The miscellaneous attachments, here is where you have the option to include any additional supporting material for the monthly report. But just please note that we would like you to keep your payroll records attached to the expenditure report because it's financial. So whatever source you're using for the OJT, please upload that onto the expenditure report. There's a section just like that there, which you'll be able to access and upload. To upload it, click select, navigate to the file location on your computer. You can drag the files to the box if you prefer, or you can select and find and add. If you need to add more than the 6 boxes that are shown, if you have multiple attachments, you can use the plus sign to create more boxes as needed. You are not required to provide us a justification for your spending as approved in your grant. So if you put on there that the salaries were $100,000, you do not need to upload the pay stubs for your employees who are handling the grant. That's stuff that you need to reserve for yourself for an audit, not for us. If we've approved it in the application, the only thing that we require, unless you want to provide something extra, is the OJT verification. Before submitting your report, it's a good idea to check for any errors. To do so, use the navigation panel to scroll to the tool selection, then select Document Validation. This will review all the report for any errors. If the errors are found, the page will be listed in the result. You can visit that page to make the correction, because when we open the report, even if it lets you submit it and we see an error, we're going to send it back to you with an email explaining why we did and that it needs to be corrected. We can save that step of going back and forth by just running the validation each time. Report submission. After you add and save all the information to the report for the month, the last step will be to submit the report. To do so, using the left navigation panel, scroll to the section titled Status Options. You're only going to have the one status, and that is Activity Report Submitted option. It's actually for submitting your report. So just because it says submitted, it's a label that needs to probably be updated, but that just means that you are submitting it. So you'll be prompted once you click that button to agree. You hit OK. If you're ready to submit, if you hit it in error, just hit cancel. You'll be able to go back. If you do want to enter any notes, you can enter them there. The system will bring it to our attention that you put a note on the claim and we can review it. The expenditure report. Once the activity report is completed, you must also complete an expenditure report for the month. Even if your expenses are 0 for that month, you still have to do a corresponding expenditure report. In the beginning, unless you are out the gate running and already have apprentices ready, you may not be ready to bill right away. So you can skip the billing, and I'll show you that in a moment, what you need to do to complete that report. It's just checking 2 boxes and you're done. You can start an expenditure report from when the application, following the same steps as you did on the activity report in slides 4 through 8. I'm sure nobody wants me to go back through them again because I'm already talking too much. From within the activity report. Either way, you would use the left navigation panel to find the selection related documents and click the initiate related documents. And again, you're going to have the option for the available documents. And this time when the drop down comes down, you're going to be looking for the month of the year, but this one's expenditure report, not activity report. It'll ask you to verify that that's the report you want to start. You hit agree, and it's going to open that report. And again, the left side of the screen is going to give you the light blue and dark blue scroll bar, and that's going to give you the different pages of the report. So after you submit the agree, you'll be brought to the document landing page. The pages of the report that need to complete it will be listed on the left navigation panel. You start by clicking the expenditure report. You can skip around to other sections. There's really only 2 other sections that you'll be touching on this that need to be completed. If you do want to do the other ones immediately, if you're not ready to enter all the information for the expenditure, you can do that. Just make sure you save each individual page as you go to it so you don't have to revisit it again. The expenditure report page. It opens up where you can enter any expenses for the listed line items. Only the expenditures for this reporting period column can be entered. If you have no expenses to submit, use the checkbox at the top of the page and it'll signify zero billing. So up on the top left of this page, you see a little checkbox. It says check here if you have no expenditures to report for the month. Okay, so you can check that and save, and that's all you need to do on this page. But if you do have expenditures to report under current expenses in the red box here, if you follow that down, you'll have corresponding amounts on the left that you can bill, available balance. You can put in if it's an admin or program expense based on what you put on your contract. And these line items will reflect everything that you put in your budget and that we approved as part of your grant. It may lump some together, and that's fine. You can bill accordingly. There are some times where you may list 3 salaries, but you may only have one line item for salaries. And it'll be the total of the 3 available. You can just populate it based on that. Make sure that when you're done entering all the information, you save the page at the top right-hand side. You'll get used to it after a while, but I say save it as often as you think about it, just because computers are our best friend until they're not. So save it at the moment you can.
Hi, everybody. It's Bill Sarbuck. I'm actually just joining you guys. I apologize for being late, but I had another meeting. I just wanted to also add to that to also make sure you have proof of any of those expenditures that you put in, because we are a reimbursement model. You have to have on hand at all times, if it's necessary for audit purposes, proof of what those expenses were. So you would be billing us in this current expenses for expenses that you've already incurred as an organization, and now we're reimbursing you for those expenses.
Thank you, Bill. And also, I did want to add to that something that, as I was doing the billing for a while, that I encountered. If you do not have apprentices yet, do not bill for RTI unless it's something you had to prepay for. Like, we're not looking to pay in the first 6 months with 0 apprentices half of your grant out. It should be prorated to what you're claiming in the month and reasonable. So just because it shows that it's an allowable expense based on your application, since we are a reimbursement model and we are paying a portion of, let's say, a salary, the first month do not bill for 50% of the allowable balance for a salary. It's a reimbursement. So 50% of what, or 25% or 5% based on your application budget is what you would be billing. And then the miscellaneous attachments, this is where you would upload your payroll records or the wage report for each of the apprentices who you claim reimbursement for the OJT. If there is no OJT requestment, there is no need to attach any attachments here unless you feel it necessary that it's something you want us to have or see. So to upload, same as before, you navigate to the file location, or you can drag it from your desktop and drop it where it says drag files here, and it'll upload it, and then make sure you save when you're finished. If you do require more than the 6 boxes as with the other page, on the bottom right, you're going to see a plus sign. You will be able to add more selections for attachments if you need. The payment voucher page. Please review this page for accuracy and check the payee declaration box. This will confirm for your billing. When you've finished, you click Save. So with this page, you're reviewing the information to make sure that what you're requesting is what's listed in the amounts. And then you're going to check the box to agree that this is what you are requesting reimbursement for. Make sure you hit Save on this. After saving the page, you can also run the error check before submitting to make sure that everything is complete. The process is the same as the activity report. It's located in the Tools section. So if you click the document validation, if there's any errors, it'll come up with the page that the error is on, and it'll let you know what needs to be fixed. For submitting the expenditure report, it's the same as the activity report. You go down to the status options. You're going to see an option there that says expenditure report submit review required. And what that's doing, it's saying review because it's coming to us for review. So after you've entered all the information, you go to the status option and select that. It's going to bring up the OK bar here saying that you want to submit this change. Hit OK. You can put a comment in there if you would like us to know something additional about it. Or if you realize that you are not quite ready to submit it, you can hit cancel. That'll allow you to go back into your expenditure report and make any changes that you need to. Okay, once both reports are submitted for the month, you are finished. Like I said in the beginning, we're going to be sending you copies of the PowerPoint so you can go through it slowly if you need to. Any questions, please feel free to reach out to us for them. I do want to also remind you that you may send us your expenditure report and not the activity report because you are waiting to get something to add to it. We will not process your expenditure report until we have both reports. So just keep that in mind that you're not going to get one of the reports processed or looked at by us until we have both. So just because the first of the month you put your expenditure report in because you want to get the payment, we're not, until the activity report is submitted, we're not even addressing it. We do have an employer engagement unit. And the purpose of the employer engagement unit is to provide high quality technical assistance, outreach, marketing, and education to you as a grantee, the business community. They serve as consultants that can help identify hiring needs and services or other needs through the apprenticeship training model. If you do need help with this unit to help you assist, email our apprenticeship email that's located at the end of this, and we'll initiate the contact with them to for them to assist you. I just wanted to make you aware that they do exist. We do also have job postings that we encourage the people who may report to the One Stop and request an apprenticeship. We and also the One Stop will direct them to this page for to go ahead into the career services page and apply for an apprenticeable job. So what it'll do is it'll take their information down, and we would be able to send that out as a list of people in the trades if somebody were to need it. But this is available for anybody who's interested in becoming an apprentice, not for the grantee. And that can be found at the labor website under career services, become an apprentice.
Just to go back to your last statement too about the employer engagement unit, there is an intake form that you can fill out, which will notify them of your interest in speaking to them. So you don't actually have to reach out to us in the apprenticeship unit if you want to talk to employer engagement. You can fill out this intake form. I'm going to put the link to the intake form in the chat so you can grab it if you need it. I'm putting it in there now, so you should see it there shortly.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, and then we do email blasts based on the people, maybe unemployed people, anybody dealing with the One Stop who's in their system and has expressed an interest in an apprenticeship. That information, your information, if you want it to be reached out, it'll notify everybody who has registered of the various opportunities. So the email blast can be sent to those candidates to match criteria for the grantee for applicants of the program. And again, this would be done by the business engagement group, correct, Bill?
Yes, they do the email blasts.
Right, so they would be able to assist you with that. Okay, at the end of the PowerPoint here, we have the USDOL contacts. Most of you have already worked with your contacts and getting your programs approved, or I would hope that you have already started to work with them. Michael Blatt is the state director, and then the different reps are assigned by county. So if there is any question in your mind of who your rep is, you can refer to this and the county, and you can reach out to that rep for any USDOL, which would be Rapids information, or any help with their system, because we do not have access to anything in Rapids except for to look at your apprentices, and that's it. We can't assist you with any problems. And then the New Jersey Office of Apprenticeship and Work-Based Learning, which is us, It's led by James Manning. He is our director of apprenticeships and business services. We have his email and phone number on here. Bill Sarbuck, who is just joined us. He is the supervisor of all of our grant programs. His contact information, as well as our general inbox for reaching everybody. So, with the exception of Jim, if you do email the apprenticeship unit at dol.nj.gov, that goes to all of us in the unit to be able to help answer your question. And it's better to use that email instead of directly emailing us, because if I'm out, or maybe Heather, who normally does your reports, is out, you can get an answer without having to wait for that person to come back into the office.
It's also a very good common practice for you to use our email addresses rather than our phone numbers. They gave us a new telephone system in the last 6 months that's supposedly going to make things greater and better, but it didn't. So I will tell you that my phone system, one, it only works when I'm in the building in Trenton, and that's right now currently because of some construction they're doing outside of our building only 2 days a week. And two, even when I'm there, it really doesn't work all that great. It's just not a great system. I ask that you please email me, even if you just email me and say, please give me a call and tell me what phone number to call you at. I don't mind calling you and speaking to you on the phone. It's more about saving you the aggravation of thinking you left me a voicemail, but I have no ability to even get that voicemail because my voicemail system isn't even working on this new phone system. So please get in the habit of emailing us, and then we can either try and schedule a call if it's necessary, or we can answer your questions through email if that works for you as well.
Yep. And also, I'm not shy about jumping on a Teams meeting with you if need be, if I'm available. If not, we can schedule one to go over any system questions or whatever you may have. That's always available too. Questions and comments. Was there any questions in the chat?
There was one, I answered it in the chat, but just so everybody else knows, somebody had asked if expenditures on the expenditure report can all be can all your expenditures be on your expenditure report? So my answer to them was that all expenditures that you budgeted for should be on the expenditure report. If you have expenditures that you didn't budget for, they shouldn't be on your expenditure report. Obviously, there wouldn't be any space for you to put them. And that, as I said before, in the reimbursement model, you would be adding them to the report once you've incurred those expenditures and paid those expenses, so that we can then reimburse you for the payment that you've made on those expenses. I think you have one more new question, Al. Can
Yeah.
an apprentice be attending a college or university? I'll let you start and I can add.
Yes. I mean, in what context, I guess, would that be really considered? As part of the program, or just on the side as if
Yeah, if
that's
it's
on?
part of your RTI, obviously,
Yes.
if a college or university is who's providing the RTI, then obviously, yes, that's allowable. And that RTI should have been approved by USDOL. So that's the part that, for us, we don't care who provides it as long as the training curriculum was approved by USDOL. I mean, USDOL, I'm sorry. As far as if you're talking about if they can take college credits on the side, absolutely. I mean, we have other programs in the building. NJ Place is a program where Thomas Edison State University, and they work closely with apprentices to work with them to get work-based learning that is transitional to college credit so that they can work towards getting a college degree. So there are programs that do things like that beyond just the registered apprenticeship to assist those participants to gain more than what they're getting. See how we use that word gains? See, it's not just an acronym. It does mean something. But yeah, at the end of the day, yes, absolutely. That's a good question, and it is allowed.
Okay. I see that I did have people raise hands. Let me know if they were here earlier. I do see the hand raised for Nuno Portella. Do you have a question? You can unmute yourself.
No, I was just pertaining to being here for the Finishing Trades Institute.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? You can unmute and ask them or type them. Okay, I think I talked everybody to sleep myself.
I feel the same way every time I do these presentations. Um, but yeah, no, thank you all. Thank you, Al and team, for taking the lead on doing this presentation. We're all very excited to get to work on these new grants, and to move forward with the grants, and see them be successful. Obviously, if at any time us as a team can be of assistance to you, let us know. If you're having any issues or concerns with your connections with USDOL, let us know. We don't mind um, reaching out and talking to them as well, or being a part of any conversations that you're having with them. That is perfectly fine and allowable. We work closely with them and they don't get angry if we get involved. So please let us know if we can be of any assistance as we move forward with these grants. And especially once you start doing these reports, I know they can be a little time consuming. Right now, technically you're going to be waiting until we get the contract signed off on. I know Al spoke about that in the beginning. We're working through a little bit of a hiccup. It's not a big one. It's hopefully something that'll get fixed shortly and we can get you the contracts to sign off on probably, hopefully next week. I'll be yelling at our vendor so that we can get them to you guys as soon as possible. As soon as I get off this call, I'm actually jumping on a call with them to yell at them. I'm joking. I might not yell at them. But at the end of the day, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for listening in. Yes, Shelley, we will have this recording shared with all of you as soon as we can get it up on our YouTube page. We'll send it out to you guys. But otherwise, congratulations once again on receipt of these grants. I know there's a lot of work that gets put into this, um, putting an application in. So that part is acknowledged and understood, and we are looking forward to moving forward with this grant. Eddie, yes, you'll get an email um, with instructions on how to sign off on the contract. We'll get that out to you as soon as the contract pages are ready for you to sign. We're really just waiting on one little section of our contract details page.
No, because I was just peeking in IGX or whatever, and it seems like it's available, but I didn't click on anything, so it's just not
Yeah.
available yet.
It's all there for you to see. You just don't have a save button.
Okay.
And technically, all the pages are going to have to be saved and signed
Well, Al
off
told
on
me to
by.
save. So
Yeah, they all got to be signed off on and saved by your authorized official, whoever the person that's eligible to sign off on your contracts are. So
okay.
if that's you, then it'll be you that goes in and does it. If it's somebody else within your organization, then they'll have to go in and do it with their login. But that'll probably, like I said, that'll probably be in the next week.
And Shelley, I just want to, we send basically, since we can't share straight out of the teams, we have to send it to our marketing to add the video to a YouTube link. Usually within a couple days, they send it back to us. They're usually pretty quick about it. So once we get that link for YouTube, then we'll send the entire packet to you. That'll include the PowerPoint, the links, everything that basically we went over today.
Right. So with that, if there's no other questions or there isn't anything else that anybody wants to ask,
I
I see a hand up.
Yep.
Just one question. Once all the paperwork is go through and approved, how long does it take to get that reimbursed?
So once the contract is submitted by you guys, you'll then be able to start your activity and expenditure reports. What are we doing? So technically, as Al said earlier, you're going to be doing a June and July combined report, which means you'll be submitting it in August. So we do this presentation now, but you technically won't actually start your report until August 1st. And it'll include any services that were provided between June 15th and July 31st. Right. Had to sing the song on my head for a second there. Sorry. And so between June 15th and July 31st, any activities and any expenditures that you need to report will be reported on that July report. And you'll open that and start filling it out on August 1st. So you have between August 1st and August 15th to get it submitted to us. and we'll review it once you get it submitted to us. Once we review it, then it goes to fiscal for approval. And once they approve it, then payment goes out. Depends on how you have your payment structure set up. If you're receiving a check, it might take a couple days to get. If your organization is set up with Treasury for like direct deposit, it usually goes through within 24 hours. It really depends on your organization. I would say from the time that you submit it to us until the time that you get paid, we usually say to give us anywhere from 1 week to 3 weeks, depending on the process of your organization, um, is when you should expect to get paid back. Obviously, that's with the expectation that you don't have any issues on your reports that we need to send back to you and have you fix anything. But that's the best answer I could give you without looking at what you submit, if that makes sense.
And to piggyback on that, the reports are not available to you until the first of the month. So, like, we're having this meeting now. Even if you wanted to go in now and just start doing prep and entering stuff, you cannot initiate the report until August 1st. So, we'll get the contract signing done hopefully next week, the week of August 1st. If you want to, you can initiate the reports and start them and get them submitted. But just keep in mind that every month, the earliest you'll be able to do your report is the first of the month.
And just know we understand sometimes with time frames for us, like if we're not getting the contracts back to you until next week to sign them and it takes you guys a little bit more than a couple days to get it signed, we'll give you a little extra time in August to get your some reports submitted if necessary. But make sure you let us know that you need that extra time. All we ask is that professional courtesy is provided to us and that we're informed of what your situations are. Please don't just, I hate using these terms that my kids would use nowadays, but I'll use it for this sense. Please don't just ghost us and make us figure out where you are and what you're doing with your reports. Let us know what issues you're having, how long you think you're going to need. We're not going to give you a hard time, especially with the first report, on giving you extra time. We will definitely give it to you. It just comes down to making sure we're informed and involved in the process, because you also have to remember, we are overseeing and looking at your grants, but this round of what is it, 12, I think this round, we did 12 for your round. In round one we had 12 grantees as well. We still have 2 rounds of FY23 gains grantees. We have all of our PACE grantees who did 2 rounds this past fiscal year, all of our YTW grantees. All in all, right now active, our team probably has somewhere between 50 and 100 grants active right now. So that's 50 and 100 activity, and 50 and 100 to 100 expenditure reports every month have to be reviewed, approved, and sent back for edits and all that stuff. They're not going to necessarily catch on day one that you didn't get your report submitted to them. So if you keep them informed, they'll be able to stay on top of things as best as possible, and we don't have any issues where we think you just disappeared on us and we can't get in touch with you.
Okay, so if there's no other questions or comments, I believe we can give you back 48 minutes of your time.
All right. 48 whole minutes back in your life. Look at that. We're already giving to you guys. You got to love the Office of Apprenticeship.
Okay, everybody have a good day who's awake.
Take care.
Heather, can you stop the recording?